All right, welcome to a new venture. Me and Lumi are going to try. We'll see how this goes, but it's going to be Lumi and Neb's Why So Serious series of Legendary Theory Crafting, Episode 1. And today, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to take ideas, theory crafting, if you will, and discuss them, such as Dindy's mechanism on PA, stuff of that nature, stuff that seems incredibly off the wall, but actually, when you add all the components together, seems insane. Also, general ideas that we have. Today's general idea is the Mega Mechanism.
Mega Mechanism, the idea of what if, instead of the Ring of Regeneration, it takes a Ring of Health?
Right.
What if, instead of the Chainmail, it takes a Plate Mail? So something right now Mega costs around 2306. What if it costs 3500? What if it costs 4000? A kind of a big Mega Mek version of the current existing.
It's important to note we're not discussing whether or not we should change the current mechanism, but add in a second version. So, and this isn't the Dagon, this isn't a diffusal blade, it's not an upgradable version. It's literally a completely different item that does the exact same thing, but just better. Right? We talked about this about a bunch of different items, maybe making smaller versions of them, making bigger versions. And we feel like mechanism is one of the most interesting ones because there's kind of multiple ways that you're going to get a mechanism. The first one is if you're a Chin or you're an Enchantress, you're a primary support hero, you get enough farm in the jungle during the early phase that you can get a quick mechanism that allows you to push insanely really early on, help out in team fights, just be really effective and in general, right? And having a cheap version of mech is you're still gonna want a cheap version, right? If Chin gets 1,000,000 kills early on, maybe you'll get the big one. Like obviously the big one's gonna be good, but it's also a lot more expensive.
We're not here to design new item. This is pure Theorycrafting. Right. And the question is, who is going to get this Mega Mek? If having the choice between a status quo mech versus a Mega Mek, I imagine heroes like Windrunner, Necrolite,
generally
semi-carries.
Generally heroes that are getting a lot of farm anyway and are good with mechanism. For instance, I think Necrolite's the perfect example because Necrolite is a farming hero. It's your primary farm. However, he's good with support style items. Like a mechanism is fantastic because the biggest thing you want to do with Necrolite is ensure that you can pulse as many times as possible. So the reason you get a mech is because it raises your effective HP, because every heal that you get on a Necrolite means that you're probably going to get another pulse, which means that heal is even more effective. So having a...
Before we lose too many viewers, we gotta explain this Mega Mek instead of just giving more stats. What does it do, right? Instead of healing for 250, we imagine a heal for 400.
Yeah, maybe 400. Like that seems like a pretty decent number. So you're just getting more HP regen. Also, the stats are going to be more, so you're going to get more armor on the item. You're going to get more instead of plus $5 stats.
HP regen.
Maybe you make circlets instead. We're not really here to try and balance the semantics of it, or balance the actual numbers. We're just here to express the idea, because what's important is that you have both versions be acceptable, but they serve different functions, right?
Yes.
And so a mechanism on a Windrunner is another example of a hero who likes to have a mechanism. It's going to give a lot of survivability. She's going to move around the map a whole bunch, and she's going to be all over the place in team fight. And having a bigger version of that item, I think she's going to buy that, right?
Maybe she'll buy it. Maybe she won't.
Maybe Dindy's PA.
I don't know. Like that's kind of the upside of having a discussion like this, because would normally non-mech buyers at all would consider this as a very, very high tier support item if it was available. For example, if your team needs a lot of healing, 400 is pretty much a big upward scale.
That's almost that's a hand of God, right?
That is a hand of God, level 16
in battle,
not
so
global.
Only AoE.
Not global. Yeah, maybe it's a bigger AoE. Of course, there's also a lot of armor that we have not talked about. So the normal mech gives you
5 armor. 5.
A lot of armor in the AoE. What if this one gave you 7 or 10?
It would give you 10
against armor. Yeah, against a Shadow Fiend that has Presence of Dark Lord, or against a TA, against a Slardar, would you suddenly start buying these items?
Yeah, and I think that what's important is that it's not just going to be a general idea like, oh, well, we're just going to make the bigger mech all the time. I think what you would want to do is you want to balance it such to where there is a real cost to trying to get another 1,700 gold on your jungle and Enigma, or your jungle Enchantress, or your jungle Chin, or your Crystal Maiden, right? Sometimes you see like support heroes who get a decent amount of farm and are like, man, I think I can actually get a mechanism, right?
Right.
But those heroes are going to struggle big time to get a mega one. But the heroes who are already making it as carries, you're going to see a lot more of that. I think.
Right. What if they get a triple kill in a team fight?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We're normally
right.
instead of getting the normal mech, they're like, oh shoot.
Yeah,
I'll get a Mega Mek.
ganks at level 1, and all of a sudden Dragon Slave just gets all 3 kills, and you're like, nice.
Yeah, something like that.
So
yeah,
I think it's actually a pretty sweet idea. I like the idea of having a massive mechanism. That's another M, massive Mega Mek of miraculous, multifaceted healing. I couldn't think of an M word for healing.
What I want to know, and probably leave this question for the viewers, is would other heroes that normally would not buy a mech at all start getting mechs? Like, would Invoker purchase a Mega Mek because it's a high tier support item, and Invoker does generally do sort of,
yeah,
maybe not because the mana cost is high.
He's really looking for mobility. Honestly, I think he does buy Force Staff and Jangle. Does seem like support items, but really they're just for the mobility. But
what about Rubik that goes mid?
Yes, exactly. Rubik has serious HP issues, big time HP issues. Yeah. I think Destroyer Silencer is another good example, a farmer who could do it. So yeah, I think generally, yeah, that'd be really interesting. But what we want to know, are you getting any other thoughts on the mech?
No, we're good with the mech.
All right, I think it's a spectacular idea. By the way, the only one better is the Super X. But the real question is, what do you want to hear us Theorycraft about? Like, do you want to hear about Dindy's PA mechanism, or you want to hear about Heaven's Halberd on Necrolite? Like, there are all sorts of crazy items that are actually very good, depending upon the situation and the application of them. So if you have any other crazy ideas that you personally think are wonderful, that you do in pubs all the time, that just seem to work amazingly, and you have maybe even have an idea of why they do, but if you put that in the comments, we'll do it, man. I mean, this is Lumi and Neb's Weisel's series of legendary Theorycrafting. We'll do anything.
Also known as LN. Hold on, let me get the acronym.
It's much easier. The acronym.
LNWSS TL
LT. EP1. So for those of you who can't say Lumi and Neb's Weisel's series of legendary Theorycrafting, LNWSS LT. I think we'll do
LT. Right. And of course, we're not just discussing items that we concocted in our mind because we're brilliant, but also random stuff that we could do in pubs. For example, Nebula brought up the idea of what if Ethereal Blade, instead of taking an Eagle song, it would take Reavers now.
Yeah, but they did the change, right? Yeah. I think that'd be a decent change.
What if, this is all what we're here to Theorycraft about.
Yeah. I think Ethereal Blade's going to be a fantastic episode, by the way. There are so many heroes that Ethereal Blade's going to be sweet on.
Put your suggestions, put your feedback in the comment section below. But for now, this has been episode 1 of Lumi Nebula's Weisel series of legendary Theorycrafting.
Holy smokes, he got it!
Wow, that was good. For Nebula, I am Luminous. We are signing out to you guys.
What a ridiculous thing. Lumi and Neb's Weisel series of...